the gates were closed, you know. I think I seen Freddie from there, and he brought me in, and he was like, "Oh, today is Wednesday, you know. If you wanna train, you're gonna have to spar." Yeah, I think Canelo will get the win. You know?
Is that gonna backfire on him?
I think so. You know, it's like all the talking. It doesn't look good when you get knocked out. You know what I mean? To be honest, I don't think it's the toughest fight of my career. I have a lot bigger things to do in the sport than fighting Fernando Vargas Jr.
I respect the fact that you're taking on such young fighter like he is. You are as well, both in their prime. And you talked about like legacy.
Hey, what's good, y'all? It's Gabe Rosado, and welcome back to another episode of Mi Gallo, along with Abner Gabe. We've been missing in action for a minute, man, but you know, I had to handle some business. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Abner. Put me on the card. We got a knockout win. Quick win.
Too quick.
Yeah,
First
man.
round.
No doubt, man. But look, man, we got rising star Callum Walsh, 14-0, 11 knockouts. CoMain event, fighting Fernando Jr., man. This is big, man. This is the biggest card you've been on and the biggest event probably this year in boxing. How's this feel, man?
Yeah, you know, it's unbelievable, you know, to be the co-main event for such a historical card. You know, it's probably one of the biggest boxing cards since, you know, what is it, Mayweather, Pacquiao, or Triple G, Canelo, you know, and to be the co-main event is unbelievable. You know, it just shows the hard work pays off. You know, I've been here in the gym grinding. You know, we've been training together,
yeah,
you know.
Man.
I've been here forever.
Yeah, man. Look, me and Callum, we got history, man. So I met you in like 2019.
I think it was
before you even had any fights. And then the pandemic hit. But one thing that I respected about you was you was always in the gym, bro. And, you know, it was easy for you to get discouraged and be like, man, I ain't getting no calls. I ain't getting no fights. But I remember telling you, like, man, just keep doing what you're doing. Keep working on your craft. And you did, man. You stood at it. And then now, bro, it's like you're really, like, right there on top. Like, this win would be big for you.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think a win here will show that I'm above the average fighter. You know, I'm already ranked 5 by the WBC. You know what I mean? So I'm right there to be. If I can prove that I can perform on a big stage, you know, I think they'll know that I'm right there for some big names. You know, take on some bigger challenges and get my name out there even more.
For sure.
The biggest stage right now in boxing. I mean, Canelo Alvarez is the biggest name out there. You know, the people, all eyes are gonna be on that card, and you're the undercard. But before we get onto that, you know, let's tell the world who Callum Walsh is. Let's tell them how you came to the States. I read a little bit about your story, brother. You kind of like my story, like, bro, you came from TJ. Like, he went to TJ, bro, he crossed over. I swear to God. You'll talk about it. You crossed over, knocked at Freddy Roach's gym. Told me, hey, I want to be a pro. I want to train with you. And so tell us about all that, man.
Yeah, you know, it's a crazy story. You know, I started boxing when I was 6 years old. You know, my father put me into a boxing gym, and I just grew up fighting. You know, that's just what I knew to do. You know, I just thought it was normal. You know, I would train and fight, and the older I got better. You know, but I lost my first amateur fight when I was 11. Then I went undefeated for a long time after that. I won 6 national titles back in Ireland. I won a European gold medal when I was 17. Then when I was 18, I was trying to qualify for Olympics. I lost in the final of the qualifiers for the Olympics, and then everything went crazy with COVID. There was no gyms open in Ireland, you know, and
it was during the pandemic, right?
Yeah, there was like right as at the beginning, everything just shut down. Like there was nothing open. So that's when I came. I went to Tijuana for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Because you had to quarantine. Ireland was a banned country from the United States. It was like, so you had to quarantine in a country that wasn't on a banned list. Right. So I went to Tijuana, quarantined there for a couple of weeks. Actually, crazy. I tried to cross the border too early and I got sent back. Yeah, I tried to walk over and they sent me back, and then eventually I flew over and they let me in, and I showed up here at the gym. It's crazy.
How was that though? You knocked at the door. Who opened the door? Was it Freddie? Who was it?
Yeah, the gates were closed. You know, I think I seen Freddie from there, and he brought me in, and he was like, "Oh, today is Wednesday. You know, if you wanna train, you're gonna have to spar." And I was like,
"Yeah, I heard he tested you right off the bat. Like, he got in and like, hey, all right, you want to train with me? Get in the ring, spar with someone." And
because the whole place was closed. There was like nobody coming and going. You know, like it is now.
How'd that spar go?
Yeah, it was good. You know, I sparred actually Blair Cobbs the first day. I sparred with Blair. You know, it was like a weird introduction to the gym, you know, because you know Blair, he's all
Blair's a character, man.
Yeah, and I was like, what the is going on here? You know, I was coming from a small gym in Ireland, coming over here, and I'm like seeing all these guys going crazy and shit. Blair was hopping around the ring. I was like, what the fuck? Yeah, it was cool. It was a good.
That's crazy, man. That's good work though. But you know what I'm saying, man. What doing all this, man, like crossing TJ, all that, man, and this first day at WildCard, you're sparring, man. What kept you locked in, bro, at a time where it was easy for you to be discouraged, where like you wasn't getting no fights? You know what I mean? You're training, you're sparring, you know what I mean? And you actually helped me for the Bektemir fight.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? We sparred a lot, me and Callum, man. But you helped me for that fight, and I remember, you just putting in work, but you couldn't get a date, man. What kept you locked in?
Yeah, I suppose like I've always fought and I've always trained, and in an amateur fight you don't make any money anyway, so that was just like I just knew how to fight and train, and obviously being here, and getting the experience that I was getting, sparring with you, sparring with everybody, I was getting crazy experience, and I knew that I could, I would just gain from that anyway, there was nothing that I could get bad out of that, being here and sparring and gaining experience, it took like a full year of training and sparring every day to actually get an opportunity to make my debut. There was constant dates, and then Tom Loeffler gave me an opportunity to make a debut. And I did, and I think I knocked it out in like 20 seconds or something. And then they were having a St. Patrick's Day show in that was January, and in March they were having a St. Patrick's show, and I was like, yeah, perfect, let me on there. And then I knocked the guy out in a minute or something, and they were like, all right. Then they signed me to a contract, and yeah, it's just been crazy from there. And then I met with Dana, and it's just been insane.
Yeah, man.
I mean, that record, 14-0, 11 knockouts. I mean, when you got the power, obviously you open up a lot of eyes. And you mentioned about, Tom 360, helping you out, opening up the doors for you, getting you fight by fight. We know that, they do a really good job of matchmaking and, taking you to a point where, you're going to make a name. And all the rest, obviously, it's on you. And you've done that, brother. 14-0, 11 knockouts. My question to you, and I've read a lot on social media, why Fernando Vargas Jr.? Is there, I mean, it seems like there's a lot of bad blood, but, I mean, is it really bad blood between you two?
I just fight the man they put in front of me, whether it was Fernando, whether whoever.
It's not
it
the
is,
U.S.
No,
for it?
I never ever asked for a fight. I've always said in my whole career, I'll fight anybody. I don't care who it is, where it is, when it is. Just give me the day, I'll show up and fight. And my job is to fight. I'm not going to be picking and choosing, especially right now. It's not a time to be picking and choosing. They put Fernando in front of me, and yeah, there's a bit of bad blood now, but I don't know where that came from. You know what I mean?
Where's the bad blood come from?
I wouldn't mind. I met him a couple of times, right? And it was he was chilling, whatever. And then we got the fight announced, and he's in my DMs, like, yeah, fuck this, like posting pictures of my girlfriend, like doing all crazy shit, And it's like we met a few times, and we were cool, we were chilling. Like, I understand selling a fight,
Is that gonna backfire on him?
I think so. It's like all the talking, it doesn't look good when you get knocked out, you know what I mean? Or it doesn't look good when you don't win, you know what I mean? And just me as a man, you can't talk that much and then expect to see me in person. I'm gonna be like, oh, sorry, sell the fight. Especially when you start bringing personal shit into it. Like, it's crazy, but it is what it is.
This fight is interesting for me, man, because it's funny. Freddy Roach was my trainer, and Fernando Vargas was my trainer. So I know Junior from back in the day. I think me and his father were training 2016, and then I know Callum from 2019 and throughout, man. So I've seen the grind with both fighters, man. I've seen the growth. I've seen it, man. I've seen the run, man. So it's one of those fights where I'm like, man, people don't understand how good this fight is, man. It's like it's two
both
young hungry
prime,
guys,
man.
two young hungry guys that really, really want that spot. And then the 54-pound division, to me, is the best division in boxing right now. It's like the most talent is loaded, man. So what does this win? And obviously with this kind of stage, you have to make a statement. It's not just about getting the win; it's how you win, right? If you were able to come out victorious in this fight, what would that win do for you?
Yeah, I definitely think it's a very good fight for both of us. There's obviously a lot of risk involved at this stage of our careers, but what I think is good, and what I respect him for is taking the fight and doing this. You don't see it. It's rare in boxing that you see a 14-0 and a 17-0 at like this stage of the careers taking these fights, because one loss in boxing is a big deal, like, yourself, so yeah, I have respect for him for taking the fight, but I think I have a lot bigger things to do in the sport than fighting Fernando Vargas Jr. I think I am destined for greatness. I think I have a lot bigger names to fight. This is the biggest fight of his career, and I think this is just another stepping stone for me. I think I have way more experience than him. I've had 150 amateur fights. I've fought on big stages all over the world. I fought Russian world champions. I've won European gold medals. I've fought everywhere on big stages, you know, and I've always performed and I've always come out on top, you know. So yeah, I think I have a lot more experience. I think I'm a lot better fighter, and it's just another stepping stone for me.
Yeah, and we we're talking off cameras about that. You know, the experience and the your record. You know, it speaks for itself. Like the fighters you faced in the past. Like honestly, you know, with all the respect, it seemed like better opposition, better fighters than what Fernando Vargas Jr. has. Build up. So that obviously is an advantage for you. Have you ever faced a southpaw, and do you like facing southpaws as well?
Yeah, I like fighting southpaws. You know, my main sparring partner back in Ireland when I was an amateur was always southpaw. You know, and I fought a couple of southpaws in my career. You know, and I like it. You know, I like fight. To me, it doesn't matter who I fight. You know, at the end of the day, once I'm prepared, ready, and I feel like I'm good to go. They can change opponent on the night. You know, I feel like I'm capable of beating anybody. You know, on any given night.
Of course, you got the mentality, but there's some fighters. Something like I honestly I don't mind it. I didn't mind fighting southpaws at all. But there's some fighters that are like, man, I'd rather stay away from a southpaw. I don't know, for some reason it just gives me trouble. I don't know, the left hand, the movement. I don't know what it is. But I mean, good. I mean,
when you in the pocket, it's all the same thing.
Yeah, no, it is and it isn't. You know what I'm saying? Because obviously the strategy obviously changes. Sure. No doubt. But my man's right here. He's got it on point, man. He's ready for it. I like the build up. I know we talked about him talking a lot of smack. I know Fernando. Fernando. He does that. You know what I'm saying? He builds the fight. I don't want to talk for him, but I feel like a lot of this stuff is not personal. It's more like to build up a mega fight like this one. But at the same time, you should take it in, and the same thing. Fire with fire, brother. And at the end of the day, all the talking is gonna be done inside of the ring.
Oh yeah, definitely. I never been one to really talk. I've always fought. No matter whether it was on the street or wherever. I've always dealt with my problems with fighting. And back where I'm from in Ireland, people don't talk like that and get away with it, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I understand selling a fight, sell a fight. Say whatever you want about me, say this and that, but like you start being personal, you start bringing people's family and stuff like that into it. I would never say that about another man, it's just disrespectful, and at the end of the day, I'm gonna deal with it.
For sure, man. What's the end goal for, like, what is it in boxing that is your ultimate goal that you want to accomplish in the sport?
Yeah, at the end of the day, I wanna know when I retire that I fought anybody, that I really did test myself, that I really know how good I actually was. I don't want to end my career and wonder, could I have beaten this guy, or was I that good? I want to fight the best fighters out there. I want to try to be the best in the world, and I want to know deep down when I retire, I want to be able to sleep at night, knowing
for sure
if I'm not, that I genuinely gave it my all. I tried my best, and at least I can sleep peacefully.
Do you think that right now Fernando is your toughest opponent?
I don't think so. I think he's a good fighter. I don't take anything away from him. At the end of the day, like, everybody has a chance in there. Every fighter has a shot in him. Every fighter has different skills. And to be honest, I don't think it's the toughest fight of my career. I think I've had a lot tougher fights even as an amateur. Like I said, I fought all over the world. I fought every style. I fought everybody you could imagine. But obviously, on this big of a stage, the night that it is, he's going to have extra motivation to beat me, and I will definitely not take it lightly. Mentally going into the fight, I will be thinking this is my toughest fight, but when it's all said and done, I don't think it will be.
I like the mentality, obviously, the way you carry yourself, the way you're talking about Junior, and saying that, he's not. I honestly believe, like, this is the biggest fight for both of you guys. We talked about it right now, man. I respect the fact that you're taking on such young fighter like he is, you are as well, both in their prime. And you talked about, like, legacy and fighting the best and sleeping well at night, knowing that you fought the best. This is good way to start, fighting this guy. I honestly feel this is a tough fight, and it's a tough fight for both of them, man. And it's a coin toss, but at the end of the day, it's them, how they feel, brother. And listen, I'm really excited about this one, man.
Being right, a young, because you're only 24.
Yeah,
I mean, you're a young guy, man. So having this opportunity, man, when they told you you're fighting Junior on the co-main event, CaneloCrawford, like, bro, that's huge. Did you even care what the purse was? He was like,
no, I didn't care even if it was the co-main event. When they just said I could potentially be fighting on the card, I was like, perfect. Put me on the card. I was happy to just be there. Now I'm the co-main event. I don't care about the purse. I don't care about this and that. You know what I mean? I'm here to fight. I'm here to win. I'm here to get my name out there. And I'm here to prove that I'm worthy of moving on to the next level, you know, and fighting the next level of fighters.
No doubt, no doubt.
And then after this, I mean, we know you obviously talked about your girlfriend earlier. That she's also a believe a UFC fighter. Shouts out to your girlfriend obviously for what she does, bro. Because that's just not easy, man. You know what I'm saying?
But it's cool because you got his girl knows what he's going through.
You said what?
His girl knows what he's going through.
Yeah,
a lot of fighters, the women don't know, what a fighter's going through. The mood swings, the crankiness, the cutting the weight.
No, she helps out a lot, obviously, with all that, man.
Sure.
That's a plus having that. But I've also known that you done jiu-jitsu. You practice a little bit of the arts of the MMA. Any thought about going into MMA after this?
Yeah, I would love to. I would definitely love to fight MMA. I've been a massive UFC fan my whole life. And now obviously my girlfriend is UFC fighter. I'm mixing around. I've trained with other fighters like Tony Ferguson. I've trained Kevin Holland. I've trained with a lot of different UFC fighters and helped them. And I love
have experience in everything. Smart Gabe and doing all these MMA fighters, bro.
But I love the sport of MMA, and I would it's definitely a bucket list thing for me. At the end of my boxing career, obviously boxing is my main priority right now. I'm the best in the world, or at least I tried and gave it my all, and then who knows, man, I can go over to MMA and throw my hand at that. Try to get a couple of UFC fights, make that walk.
Dope. Never done in history, obviously. Boxing and jump over to MMA, UFC, bro.
No, a couple fighters did it.
I think the only one.
Tony did it.
Yeah, and he got
what do you do? MMA? He didn't win. I'm just saying he tried.
For sure. I think the only person to do it successfully was Holly Holm.
Of course.
She was one of the best.
She's back to boxing.
I think she was champion in both boxing.
That is right. Yeah.
All right. So being that you're on the CoMain, Canelo Crawford, who do you favor in that fight?
It's a tough one. I've been thinking about it, and I just don't know how well Crawford is going to be able to absorb the shots. At the higher weight class. I think he'll definitely steal a couple of rounds early.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Canelo breaks people. It's them hard shots to the arms, to everywhere. I don't know how well he's going to be able to absorb those shots. So I think Canelo will get the win. I think Crawford might take a few rounds early, but I think Canelo,
All right, now let's talk about your fight. How does your fight end, brother? What do you see? How do you envision that night?
If I don't lose, I'll probably win. I think I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna perform to my best. It's a big stage. I've always performed well under the lights. And I think the pressure won't get to me. I think it'll just improve my performance. And I'm gonna go out there and put on a big performance and get the win.
That's what I was going to ask, too. Like, how do you prepare for that mentally? Like, you're in the biggest stage, bro. Like, Canelo, undercard, man. Crawford, I mean, both two of the best in boxing right now. It's massive crowd. You got all eyes on you. People watching you back home, not putting pressure on you or anything. But how do you control that? How do you manage that?
I've been fighting my whole life. My job is to fight. My job is to go out there and do it no matter what, no matter who's watching, And I think, like, obviously it's a massive stage, a massive moment, but I know I have a job to do. You can't enjoy it if you go out there and lose. You go out there and get knocked out. You won't be able to enjoy. I'm going to go out there and get the job done. And after, I'll be able to look back and be like, fuck, that was crazy. I think get the job done first, though. That's why I stay focused.
You know what I tell people, Gabe, is that, once the bell rings and you get hit, that's, you forget about everything. Anyone looking at you, that's it. You know what I'm saying? You locked in. I know you locked in, going down the tunnel into the ring. You concentrated, but, it's until that first the bell rings, it's like boom, it's on, brother.
Yeah, that doesn't matter how many people are there. Like once the bell rings, you don't hear nothing really. Like
sure.
Just like.
And a lot of guys they fold under the lights, man. But Callum, man, I know him, man. He's the type of dude, man, that he lives up to the hype, man. And then at the same time, Fernando Jr. He has his father where he used to do the ring walks with his father and be on his father's shoulders, like where he understands that atmosphere. And I think it's a fight where you got two young, hungry lions that
king right here, bro. He's the only king.
They want to.
You got a king right here too.
They want to seize the moment, and that's why I think it's such a good fight, man. Because I think you guys are really going to bring the best out of each other. Because he wants to win and you want to win the fight, man. And me knowing them both personally, man, it's like I know the fight's going to be that good, man. So I'm excited for it, man.
That's the beauty about, like I keep mentioning, like these type of fights. And I think that's why they put in this as a co-main event, because you got two big names, hungry fighters, and their prime. Like people want to watch that. Boxing is missing that. Nowadays, you see a lot of mismatches, fights that are not even there. But this one itself, brother, I am so excited for. I'm looking forward to it because, like you said, like he mentioned right now, we both are gonna feed off each other. He hits you, you're gonna hit him back, and it's gonna become a brawl. It's gonna become one of those fights that you could even steal the show. I mean,
Yeah.
I know it's hard to believe. Obviously, you caught Crawford and Canelo, but it can be.
Yeah, I think it definitely has potential to be fight of the night. Obviously none of us want to lose.
Of
You know,
course.
I'm not sure how entertaining the Canelo Crawford fight will be. that can go either way. It can be
Mhm.
the best fight ever, or it could be a very boring
Yeah.
fight. That's the thing with big fights like that. But I think with two young, hungry fighters, it's gonna be a war. We're gonna both fight for the win, and definitely has potential to be fight of the night.
I'm excited for this
Man,
one.
I on the story I put that we're gonna have you on the show, so I
Yeah, people asking
got
questions.
fans asking questions, man. So we're gonna give the fans some shine real quick. I got Congo. Congo, he wants to know Congo dash tag.
Okay.
That's his name. He wants to know ask him what weakness does he see in Fernando Vargas Jr. that he can capitalize on. I don't know if you want to answer.
Yeah.
I'll tell him my whole game plan. I'll say me and Freddie actually been working on it.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
But I just think my experience is too much. I think, like I said, I fought all over the world, big stages everywhere, and I think I just have too much experience for him.
Jackson, he wants to know how does it feel to be, on the CoMain event. We had asked that question already. Biggest fight in history.
Mhm.
A lot of people do consider Canelo and Crawford to be one of the biggest fights, of the year, obviously.
Who was, growing up, who was your biggest inspiration? Obviously, it doesn't have to be from Ireland, from everywhere or anywhere. Who was your biggest inspiration?
I never looked up to anybody in the fighting world. I got into boxing through my father. He put me in a gym when I was 6 years old. So I didn't really. It's weird. I didn't get into fighting from watching somebody and being like, oh, I want to be like that. I want to be this guy or whatever. I just was in the gym and I fought my whole life. That's all I knew. And then I was probably like 12 when McGregor got in the UFC. And that's when we used to stay up at night, watch the fights, watch the UFC. I used to be up in my grandmother's living room at 6 a.m. trying to stay up for the fights, and then that's how I became a massive UFC
McGregor,
fan.
UFC fan.
Mhm.
So we could say a little bit of McGregor and
Yeah, a bit
obviously
of
your
McGregor, yeah.
father,
Putting me in the
putting
gym.
in
yeah.
the game.
Mhm.
So we'll do the last one. So it's the Underground Kings. Does he feel like he has to go for the KO, being that he's fighting in Junior's backyard?
I'll go for the KO anyway. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'm going for the KO no matter
For
whether
sure.
we're fighting in
Yeah.
my backyard or his backyard or we're fighting out here in the car park. I'm going for the KO. I'm always looking for the KO.
Yeah.
Every fighter is. He will be too, I presume. So yeah, definitely gonna look for the knockout and try to get out of there untouched, uninjured. And be ready for the next one.
Being that this fight obviously is on the biggest stage, as big as it gets, does it add, I wouldn't say pressure, but does it add like that desire within camps of push yourself that extra mile that maybe you haven't experienced before?
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
you want to give the fans, because you obviously, it's a fight. You have to win, but at the same time, this is the entertainment business and this is the big stage. So are you feeling that?
Yeah, definitely. Especially fighting Fernando, it's like you're fighting these names of guys you never even heard about before, and you don't know who he is, what he's doing. Whereas
Yeah.
I know Fernando's out there training for me.
For sure.
I'm training here for him, and that we kind of know each other. It's on this big stage, and I'm getting this massive opportunity. I think it's after lighting that fire inside me where I'm like, right, let's go. Go that bit harder in the training. Do the extra runs, do the extra swims, whatever it is. It's definitely after giving me more motivation. 100%.
No doubt.
And
no
I
doubt.
think that obviously your motivation, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong also, is that he brings in a name. I mean, even though it's, the Vargas dynasty, you know what I'm saying? Like, the son of Fernando Vargas Sr. I mean, so obviously that I'm sure motivates you as well, right?
Oh, yeah,
Knowing that you can
100%.
beat Fernando Vargas, I'm sorry, one
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
Vargas
yeah.
dynasty.
Yeah, definitely. He's bringing a name. He's bringing, it's a good name he has, and it'll look good on my record, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Caleb, man. So, you got legendary trainer Freddy Roach, man. And I know when I got with Freddie at the time, it was a certain energy that Freddie had, man, where it's like when he gives you instructions, it's like you want to follow the instructions because he has that command, right? How important is it having such a legendary coach in your corner?
Yeah, I think it's very important, you know, coming from the big amateur background that I had to moving over here to the pro style, you know, I think Freddie is perfect for that, you know, with his aggressive style, you know, learning how to sit down on the shots more, you know, and just being around here at WildCard, you know, you're gaining so much experience, you know, just from Freddie, from all the coaches, from you don't know who's going to be here on any given day. You know, you could be sparring with some champion, or you could be sparring with someone that you could potentially be fighting. You know, you just don't know. You know, everybody comes and goes here, and you just gain so much experience and so much energy and everything from the gym. I think it's it's made my career like 10 times better, 100 times better.
No, for sure, man.
That's
I
a big
could, and I could tell, man. I walked in and Freddie's happy, man.
Yeah.
He's happy.
Yeah.
He's happy, man. He's excited about this. You know, Freddie changes his whole mood when it's like this kind of fight.
Yeah, I walked in and, you know, sometimes you walk in and he doesn't talk as much. He looks at you and like, eh. But today I walked in and he was talking to me a lot, like, oh, you see him, you see how he's working.
Yeah.
He's telling me, he was like, you said, like his energy was like, you know, through the roof. He was excited. And one thing I like and respect about Freddy Roach is that he's not only just a coach, you know, he's a teacher. You know, he's a good corner man, telling you, you know, the right instructions, but also, you know, in the gym, you know, sometimes you have a great corner man and sometimes, you know, he's not a great mitt guy, or he's not a good guy, you know, giving you instructions, you know, as hitting the bag or, you know, doing mitt work. But Freddy Roach is a complete trainer, man, and,
no doubt,
and he's
man.
definitely gonna bring a plus into your corner.
And it just gives you a huge confidence boost too, just having him in your corner. You know, even from the opposite side, them looking over at Freddy Roach, you know, everybody knows Freddy, you know, and then your opponent seeing you and Freddy Roach, you know, it has to be intimidating, you know, it has to be like, oh shit, I'm fighting.
What would you say that Freddie added to your game that you were missing, and once you got here, it was like it kind of changed everything for you?
Yeah,
What's that one thing you can knit?
He added the pro style, you know, I have an amateur background where I boxed. You know, I always fought with my hands down. I always fought long and boxed and I had a lot of knockouts, but Freddie has changed my style. You see in a lot of my fights, I haven't shown that I can box. I just go forward, I get the finish, you know what I mean? But I can box if I have to, you know what I mean? That was the great thing about coming here to Freddie is like I have my massive amateur background. Now having this pro style, if it gets sticky and I need to box, I can go back to what I know, what I've learned my whole life. But what Freddie is teaching me has worked, you know. But definitely being able to mix it up, you know, that's the
Switch
best
speeds.
thing. Yeah.
For sure. Definitely. Yeah, Callum Walsh, thank you so much for joining us, man. September 13 on Netflix, making history. Don't miss it. He's facing Fernando Vargas Jr. on the Canelo Crawford card on Netflix.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me, you know.
Yeah, man.
September 13, don't want to miss that fight.
Oh, I know,
Don't
man.
forget, Mi Gallo's gonna be fight week at the Canelo undercard covering everything. Mi Gallo, baby.